Welcome to another edition of This Week, 60 minutes of analytical review of the big stories, topical issues and all the controversies around the world. I'm Somna Sambo. Coming up in 60 minutes, insecurity resurfaces across Nigeria, with the northern parts of the country facing rising kidnappings and banditry attacks. ASU strike, Nigerian government shifts ground, reaches agreement with university lecturers on the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System, IPIS. Plus, boosting trade relations, Nigerian government signs fuel transportation storage deal with Nigeria Republic. We have analysis coming up. We begin with the rising insecurity in Nigeria, mostly in the northern part of the country, where for more than a decade now has been under serious security threats, with the APC state chairman in Nasarawa State, Philip Sheko, killed after he was reportedly abducted from his home in Lafia on Saturday and found dead on Sunday. About 9 students of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria are still under captive after being kidnapped on the popular Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, and the kidnappers are demanding 30 million naira each before they are released. The fear of kidnapping and armed banditry along the Abuja-Kaduna Expressway has now scared motorists and commuters away from the highway. But military authorities on Saturday visited the area where they allayed the fears of Nigerians by assuring them that security operatives have fully restored sanity on the road. Arise correspondent Ferdinand Duroha reports.
The Abuja-Kaduna Road is one of the busiest in the country. The road is a major route connecting travelers through Kogi, Abuja, Kaduna, while it leads to Kano and some other northern states. It is a major link between northern and southern Nigeria. But in recent years, commuters using the road have had their hearts in their mouth due to an increase in criminal activities like armed robbery and kidnapping, especially with the recent kidnap of 9 students of the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria on the highway. The morbid fear of being kidnapped has made many people, including VIPs and top security operatives, to prefer using trains plying the Abuja-Kaduna rail route. But military authorities, led by the Nigeria Defense High Command on Saturday, visited the highway after weeks of clearance operations to rid the road of criminal elements to allow for peaceful commuting by Nigerians. General Officer Commanding 1 Division, Nigeria Army Kaduna, Major General Usman Mohammed, says successes have been recorded in the fight against bandits on the highway.
I'm sure you are aware about the threats that we have had on this road. Before now, there have been so much kidnapping and armed robbery on this road. But in recent past, with the operation ongoing, we have had a lot of successes. And often, some of these successes are often underreported. On this road, when you are passing, you won't actually see the soldiers or the security men on the road, because that is not the strategy. The strategy is just for us to go after them in their enclaves and don't even allow them to have the opportunity of coming to the road in the first place. And that way, we'll be able to keep the road safe and free for traffic to ply on this road. What we have done additionally after that incident was to increase the number of troops on this road. And we have added additional vehicles, and we are going to get additional logistics so that you will see presence on the road, and we'll be able to police the hotspots or the flashpoints where we have noticed gaps.
Leading journalist on a tour of the road from Abuja to Kaduna, Coordinator Defense Media Operations Major General John Enenche says reports that motorists have abandoned the highway due to insecurity is false.
Seeing is believing. They said road deserted, but I can see a deserted road with vehicles. They don't marry up at all. Simple. A desert is a place where you find nothing at all, no life. So road is meant, the life of a road is vehicles, and here are vehicles. Thank you very much, you are doing a great job. And we are going to take the news out there that people were being misinformed, and there's no truth, no truism at all, no authenticity to what is going out there.
Chairman of the Nigeria Union of Road Transport Workers, Jerry Branch, testifies that there is a strong security presence on the road and affirms that commercial activities have not been interrupted.
But the security is here, is good here. We have soldiers, police are working hard. So within this area, we will not get problem.
How about passengers? Have you been getting regular passengers, or there are no passengers on the road at all?
At the road?
Yeah, passengers.
They are coming, they are coming.
You have enough passengers?
You know, we enter embalmment. The passengers are rushing now, so we have passengers here plenty.
It is safe to say that there is a strong vehicular presence along the road due to the operations, but as Yuletide season approaches, commuters will need more than verbal assurances from security operatives as they commute on the major highway. Ferdinand Duroha, Arise News.
For analysis, I'm now being joined by Senator Bala, the Chairman Senate Committee on Air Force, and from our overflow studio by Otunba Lanre Ipinmisho, who's a legal practitioner and security expert. He's also served as a former Director General of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. Good to have you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with you, Distinguished. What are your feelings on the state of insecurity across the country? We've seen the northern part witnessing a lot of issues, culminating in the death of, for example, the state chairman of your party in Nasarawa State, and there are still about 9 students of the ABU's area still kidnapped, and the kidnappers are demanding 30 million naira each, which will make it 270 million naira. How is your government tackling all of these issues?
Well, you asked me about my feeling, and then you asked about how the government is solving this issue. My feelings cannot be different from the feeling of the ordinary Nigerian on the street, more especially in the northern part of the country. And that feeling can best be described as a feeling of some level of hopelessness as far as security is concerned. As to how government is trying to solve the issue, I have just watched an interview where there has been deployment of troops on the highway. But you see, the security situation in the country is much more than securing the highways. It has dimension. In my ordinary understanding of how issues are solved that relates to security or crime, we used to say the nature and character of a crime to a larger extent will determine the control strategies to be adopted. My concerns are many. One, could it be that there is an organization, a criminal gang somewhere, trying to amass money for the purpose of getting arms and ammunition to become a bigger problem for the country in future? That's one. The other length of the concern will be this. Why will anybody in his right sense abduct a person and demand the colossal amount of money that these people are demanding? And when those monies are paid, where are they being kept? Because when you mention this humongous amount of money, it's worrisome to ask where can that amount of money be kept. So really it's a very disturbing issue, but I would want to believe that government is doing whatever is humanly possible to have control of the situation. But it will be nice. It will be nice for government to go a bit more in trying to find out whether this kidnap issue has no relation with a bigger issue that may likely come, and I hope it does not come in the future.
All right, let's get the thoughts of Otunba Ipinmisho here. What are your thoughts on this, considering that you are former DG of NDLEA, and we have seen the role that drugs have played in communities, which has led to a lot of youths, falling into drug addiction and using that as a pretext. For example, the APC chairman, state chairman who was killed in Nasarawa State, we were told that these guys went to his house, they used axes and everything. For 49 minutes, they were trying to break into his house. He called the police, nothing happened. And these guys happily continued doing that eventually until they got him out and killed him. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Thank you very much, Sumner. I think it is worrisome. Number one, this man is chairman of a ruling party at the federal level and at the state level. I'm sure the government is thoroughly embarrassed by this. Are they helpless? We'll discuss that. Number two, I agree absolutely with distinguished Senator Naala that we need to find out what these people are doing with the funds. That may assist us in knowing how to tackle it better. A friend that was kidnapped said the leader of the gang told him that this business is not going away soon, that no business can be as paying as this business, that this is small children already know how to carry arms. Number two, he said they don't touch the money. So there's somebody somewhere that is receiving this money. Those guys in the bush, they don't spend the money. They drink the same dirty water as their victims drink. I think there is a need for a better study. This thing has been with us now for too long for us not to be able to get at the root of it. And we'll just pick incidents like symptoms and deal with symptoms. We haven't gotten to the root of it. Then the police need to tell us how much more they know about these affairs. Somebody was kidnapped in one of the north and central states. And when the guy was released at the police station, he was told that, oh, you shouldn't have paid up to this. What you have paid is a mistake. You should have paid this. They may not be involved, but they have certainly information that will assist government. Any Nigerian who is not embarrassed by what is happening and who is not frightened by what is happening needs to be checked.
Now, you just have to hold your thoughts there because we'll just go on a very short break, and when we come back, you continue with your thoughts. You're still watching This Week on Arise News. Plenty more still ahead. Stay with us. So this week, where we have the best of analysis and conversations, I'm Sumner Sambo. Nigeria's military high command has reassured citizens of its commitment towards securing the country against terrorism and other forms of criminality. In a weekly report of defense operations across the nation, Coordinator Defense Media Operations Major General John Enenche says troops sustained the tempo in all the joint operations areas. Enenche says successes made so far include neutralization of bandits, recovery of weapons, and rescue of kidnapped victims. Let's take a listen to him.
The whole thing as it's playing out now, going by our own projection and plan, is that once we get them out of the system, particularly the collaborators, there will be better, life for the people in the whole of the localities around that area. And Operation Hadar in Daji in the Northwest is achieving that greatly. For the air operations, air component of Operation Thunder Strike neutralized several armed bandits in the Kwayambana forest of Kaduna State. The operation, which took place on the 12th of November, was executed sequel to reports that close to 100 bandits carrying high-caliber weapons, mounted on motorcycles, thrust through the large number of cattle and other livestock from Dankolo and Machita villages. The bandits and the rusted livestock were subsequently spotted by a Nigerian Air Force aircraft on reconnaissance mission at Kaboru village, heading towards Kwayambana forest. The air component therefore dispatched a Nigerian Air Force attack helicopter to the location, which engaged the target area, leading to the neutralization of several of the bandits.
All right, back to you, Otunba Ipinmisho. When you hear things like this from people in authorities, you would eventually discover that it looks like the media is not reporting the successes of the government. But at the same time, you will also see that the media is reporting some of these killings and all of that. The government will now be accusing the media of blowing insecurity out of proportion. What are your views, and what will you suggest as a way out of this insecurity in terms of information management and then actual boots on the ground to solve this problem?
Thank you very much. I think the media should be consistent in what it's doing. People don't want to give accounts when they are in office. So when you render accounts for them, it becomes painful. Each time they say they have neutralized 17 bandits. Bandits come within 72 hours to attack and kill more than 3 times what they said they have neutralized. Each time they say the bandits are on their way out, they take more life than they that are on ground could take of the bandits. We have not got the solution to this problem, and nobody should pretend that they have solutions. In the contrary, looks like they are tired, and they should be fair to Nigerians. Let fresh minds come and take a fresh look at what is happening. You may be surprised that the solution is not as far-fetched. People are tired of looking at the same thing the same way for all this number of years, and lives are being lost. Nigerians want results, not these window dressings. As far as we are concerned, those children in the custody of the kidnappers don't fancy all these your beautiful talks. As far as they are concerned, there's nobody who is doing all this positive protection and all that you are talking about. How did they get in there? Spend 10 minutes with bandits and you know what they're going through. Generals have been killed, colonels, all sorts of them. And as far as we're concerned, they are making efforts, no doubt. My son-in-law was killed as a captain in the same Kaduna area on operations. So their own lives too are being lost. It's not as if they are enjoying it, but if you don't have the solution, you don't have the solution. Then Nigeria, take a deeper look and take this thing more seriously. Our main problem is that you release these 9 students now, we go to bed as if the problem is over. They carry these troops to another place again. We need to be more consistent in what we are doing. That's why the bandits are not.
We need to have the views of
I hope you.
Yeah, let's have your views on this. You are the Chairman Senate Committee on Air Force. Why don't we have this rapid air deployment when, for example, students are kidnapped like this, or even, for example, this APC chairman was killed? These are just the recent scenarios. How come we don't have that capability that, because it's usually said that within the first at least 48 to 72 hours, if we have air deployment or things like that, it's easier to find people who are abducted. What are your thoughts? And then what are the authorities in the Air Force telling you?
Well, Sana, let me first of all tell you that I'm a pilot. And I'm not only a pilot, I have flown significant numbers of hours to become a captain, at least in flying. You see, the Air Force, if you look at the efforts that is being put into ensuring that these things are fought with the zeal and the commitment that is there, you will definitely give them kudos. I will give you an example. In the briefing now, you are told that a helicopter was discharged to go to somewhere around Nankolo. That's the border with Nankolo is in my constituency.
In Kebbi State.
In Kebbi State. Every time you have opportunity to call the Chief of Air Staff for something that is happening, he doesn't wait. In fact, in the last 1 month, when I reported another issue around Onashi area, within 24 hours, the entire area was taking over with airstrike and the rest, and we had some sign of relief. But let me tell you my concern. I have earlier on told you that we have to critically look at the nature and character of this kidnapping and then the banditry and separate them. And then each treat is on its own merit. The banditry people are people who go to attack people and take away their cows for the purpose of selling. Now, if we say, for example, that we will organize the sale and transportation of cows from the northern part of Nigeria to anywhere in such a manner as to secure the channel from any, in
other countries you have every cow actually tagged and all of that when they are being transported.
Yeah, so if you now say, for example, wherever a trailer is loading cows, the people who sold that cow are recognized. They must have a receipt with signature and the rest. So at each...
And it can be forged?
No, you can find, but there is telephone now. There is telephone, you can call from anywhere. If, for example, somebody is departing Kaduna to Lagos, so for every checkpoint, the trailer, you should stop the trailer, ask for this documentation, confirm from where the vehicle is alleged to have departed, and then we will have some level of control. But in a situation where everybody can pick anything and go anywhere, it doesn't show that.
Okay, it's a good suggestion.
Yes.
But let's talk about the Air Force capability. Very quickly, we bought some helicopters that have night vision, support and all of that. How come we do not have those helicopters being deployed, especially in the police and even the army is having a Nigerian Army aviation now?
Okay, let me tell you.
Just very quickly.
They have all these equipment, but you see, the strict rules governing the operation of this equipment must equally be followed. So if, for example, they have an attack helicopter that has 4 officers who are trained to command, not only to fly, you have to be able to command. And then for whatever reason, like the unfortunate incident that happened with one of the pilots, one is dead. You have to take time to retrain another person. So it's not something you can do overnight. But to the best of my knowledge, virtually all these equipments are in use all over the country. Okay. But it depends on, if for example you have an attack helicopter that has to go to, let's say, Nasarawa and do a rescue operation, and about the same time there is the same incident happening in Sokoto, the fastest way a helicopter can go, those kind of helicopters.
All right, I've been told that we do not have enough time on this. We just have to go on a very quick break right now. You're still watching This Week on Arise News. Stay with us as we go on a short break. We'll be back soon. Welcome back to This Week, where we hold the best of conversations and analysis. I'm Sumner Sambo. Now, we'll go straight to the solutions in very brief terms. Should we adopt a non-kinetic approach to this warfare? Just like the NSA had said, there's a lot of hunger in the land, which is making a lot of people to commit crimes and all of that. How can the authorities actually ensure that this non-kinetic means of warfare is embarked upon, so that we can win this war through another approach, since the use of weapons and all of that doesn't seem to be giving us results? Well,
the starting point is to ask, how did we get to where we are? And I'm sure it's a long stretch of so many unanswered questions. But I'll give you an analysis.
Very briefly.
Yeah, what happens to a man who decides that he's going to marry 3 wives, he will have about 27 or 30 children, and all of a sudden he cannot even afford a measure of rice in his house? What happens to him? What happens to the wife? What happens to the family? You see, all over the world, the starting point for this kind of approach is to first of all make an attempt to conquer hunger. The framers of our constitution thought about this, and in their wisdom decided to put the country in such a way that the resources of the country will be distributed evenly, so that we grow evenly, and then people will have what they have to live as human beings. Unfortunately, leadership in that part of the country, with the greatest respect, can validly be said to have failed in looking at what the necessary intention were of the framers of our constitution. The creation of local government based on land mass and population were all intended to skew the allocation of resources in such a manner that population can be taken care of.
They'll get to the grassroots.
Exactly, yes. Today, virtually, you and me know, we can validly say that we do not have local government functioning in northern part of Nigeria. You know, because their funds are not released to them. Nobody, you can. So that idea of even distribution of income is completely defeated by whatever reason.
All right, we'll have to get the views of Otunba here. What are your, what's your take on this NSA proposal for non-kinetic approach to this warfare on insurgency, not only in northern Nigeria, in different parts of southern Nigeria? There's a lot of poverty, just like he has said. What do you think should be the approach on adopting that method, if you indeed think it's also an alternative?
Yeah, thank you very much. I believe the use of the word non-kinetic referred to NSAS and all that. But as for the bandits, until they lay down their arms, they shouldn't expect the state to fold its hands and be looking. It's not working, but that is not to say that our hands should be tied behind our backs and bandits should be killing us. My worry is that they're in the process. We have too much arms, small arms in the system. We have too much drugs in the system, too much narcotics in the system. We have too much hands that are doing nothing. And this is what you need to set a country on fire. The arms are there. Those who are going to use it without even a loaf of bread, just give them. They are happy to carry it. They are there. The drugs to kill their conscience is there. We need to get back to the drawing board and talk seriously. We don't have too much time. Those who have died don't believe that Nigeria has not failed. If you wake up some of these people, they will think that everybody around perished. The same thing, those who are in detention, they are in the detention of kidnappers now. They do not believe that anybody is thinking about them. And when we have too many of such cases, it causes tension in a country. And tension does not permit for development that the president is seriously looking for. Therefore, non-kinetic, that is for demonstrators and all that. But as for the man who is carrying AK-47, increase the kinetics.
That would have to move on to other stories. The Nigerian government has offered to pay the Academic Staff Union of Universities 65 billion naira for earned academic allowance and revitalization. The government agreed to pay the lecturers their outstanding salaries using an older payment platform, Ipinmisho, different from the controversial IPs. According to Nigeria's Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, the Accountant General of the Federation has offered to release 40 billion naira in the alternative 35 billion naira to be shared by all the registered trade unions and the universities after providing necessary evidence of having earned the allowance. Meanwhile, ASU says it will take the new offer to its members and will give the government their response this week. I still have with me in the studio Senator Bala, the Chairman Senate Committee on Efforts, and from our overflow studio, Otunba Lanre Ipinmisho, who is a legal practitioner and security expert. He was also a former Director General of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. And I come to you, distinguished. The students have been at home for a very long period of time since the beginning of this year, and this has compounded the security issues that we discussed about earlier on. But the government seems to be realizing that this has contributed to those insecurity issues, and it's working very fast to ensure that the lecturers are back to the classrooms. What do you make of all of these negotiations, which looks like hopefully from this week we may have a cheery news from ASU?
Well, to start with, it is needless for us to have reached where we are today. Anybody with proper understanding of university education will know that no university possesses the required manpower to run the faculties. So what they do is that lecturers, professors move from one university to the other to share. Now, if you consign them to EPs, that movement becomes automatically impossible. And what that means is that it will paralyze the university system. Anybody who has ordinary knowledge of how the university system works knows this. Now the issue is, why will anybody with this kind of knowledge insist on enrolling lecturers of the university in EPs? It definitely will not work. The university system will be paralyzed. So I say it is needless because I felt in the first place there ought not to have been this situation. Well,
the government said it was trying to save money through the IPs.
It is not the issue of saving money. It is the issue of not every policy has universal application. You understand? We must accept that fact. And therefore, we must give exception. In fact, it's a normal way of saying things. To every general rule, there must be exception. So whoever misled government into taking this position, to me, ordinarily, he should pay the price for doing this.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Let's have the views of Ipinmisho on this. He says that whoever brought this rule in government should actually pay the price. What are your views on that? Do you think President Buhari's government was just too hard on the lecturers, and this issue, just like he said, shouldn't have been on the board in the first instance?
I think generally our attitude to policy making is too peripheral. We're not very deep. because in most government agencies that come up with these decisions, go and find out what the R&D, the research and the research departments, go and find out what they, I'm planning, find out what they do there. In most ministries, MDAs, research, planning and statistics are Siberia. So you can imagine what comes out. So you treat things based on newspaper reports, cuttings here and there, and the same discussion at galleries here and there. So if we want to be deeper, we should take serious study of issues before you push it to the public. But particularly this one now. Can you imagine that more than 80% of the students don't even understand why we should be where we are, and parents, why we should be here, just like the senator said. We don't need all this. It creates all the tension. If the students are in school, the agitation would not have been as huge as it was during the NSAS. But there were hands that are just lying there. I think we should be more serious about policy issues. And we should make policy not because of individuals, but for the development of institutions. We should take ourselves a little more serious. Nigeria, 200 million people. Don't let us continue to be laughing stock of. We didn't start Ministry of Education yesterday. We didn't start yesterday. And why is it that at every moment it looks like we're just learning? I think people should pity us. They should pity parents. Now see how much we have lost. By the time they get it, they say by March, the session is over. Can you imagine? I conduct interview for job seekers. Even when they were able to do full sessions, I know the kind of things they bring out. Not to talk of where you rush and do this 3 weeks semester and you say it's over. What are we getting this country ready for? I am really worried. As for ASU, I think ASU too should be more committed. ASU should see themselves on both sides. It's not just about defending your salaries. It's about also defending your country. We should take this country more serious so that what you need to sort out on negotiation table, you don't need to take us through all these strikes. And we continue to say that our educational system is falling. How will it not fall? When your colleagues are at work, you are home eating groundnuts, then you say education will not fall.
Let's have the views of the senator on this. Do you think that the lecturers too were being too hard on the system, considering the state of the economy? Nigeria has fallen into recession and all of that. Although lots of people are saying that when it comes to money issues, there's always money for politicians and government, but there's always no money for other services in government. This issue of payment of salaries and salary structure for us. Do you think they were too hard on the government?
Let me quickly. You just did the analysis of saying that the money given was for certain allowances. Look, what I'm telling you is that if a professor from Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, who maybe takes a subject in Zaria and the University of Jos is offering the same and they do not have an equivalent, so he has to travel from Zaria to Jos. Those allowances are the bone of contention as far as enrollment of IPs is concerned. It has nothing to do with the actual salaries of academic staff union. And that's why I'm saying that anybody who knows how the university system works ordinarily should know that for him to insist that they should be enrolled on EPs is as good as saying he wants to kill the university system. But
well, it's part of the institutional reform that your party said it was coming into government to do, because President Buhari has always insisted that this IPPIS is one of the things that will bring a lot of accountability.
It's one of the best policies that government can put in place. But like I have told you, Samna, it's not everything that is applicable to every government institution. The structures are not the same. The workings are not the same. And I'm telling you, that's why I started by saying anybody who has ordinary knowledge of how the university system works ordinarily should not have okay, I will give you an example. When we started the issue of procurement in this country, why did we allow security agencies to go and do single sourcing without having to advertise for it? Was because you cannot advertise what you are going to acquire to do a security job. You understand? So what I'm saying is that the policymakers ought to know that This EPs is not conveniently applicable to university system, and ordinarily should not have insisted that it should be put on the office tool. But let me tell you, this is going to be unbelievable. But I'm telling you, based on my research, the institutional reform that is necessary in this country is high by now.
Your government promised all of that in 2015,
yes,
and it's 5 years.
No,
we still haven't seen all those institutional reforms. You even talked about it, that your government in 2015 needed to urgently reform the system.
You remember.
Which lots of people call restructuring now.
Exactly. You remember in 2015, I granted an interview, and I'm happy you were there. And I said the priority of this government should be institutional reforms, because you cannot run a convenient democracy with weak institutions. Let me tell you, 67.4%.
All right, we just have to go on this very quick break. Just hold on there. You're still watching This Week on Arise News. Plenty more still to come. Stay with us. Welcome back to This Week, where we hold the best of conversations and we actually analyze the best of issues going on. I'm Somna Sambo. Well, distinguished, you were talking about institutional reforms. I also want to ask you, the believability rate of this government is very low. Do you think that the lecturers should agree to what Ngige has said at this moment? Should they believe President Buhari's government on the offer that they've put on the table?
Well, I was thinking that they, being part of the agreement, will have the opportunity to look at the demeanor of the minister to know his level of commitment and seriousness as far as those issues are concerned. Sana, let me tell you, this institutional reform, we can't continue to look the other way. We must accept the fact that it exists. We have a dysfunctional institution. And these are issues that we must have the courage to face and take away that. I'm telling you, based on the last update of my research, 67.4% of people who occupy government offices in this country occupy offices lacking in capacity to run those offices. Of course, you and me know, we have had situations where there were allegations that people pay money to get offices.
Yeah, we cannot
sweep that. You see, we cannot sweep that.
Including the incumbent INEC chairman who has been renominated. We are hearing all those
no, that one is
mere allegation. Well, it's one of those.
But whatever it is, for whatever it is, we must accept the fact. You see, our issues have always been to pretend that certain things do not exist. And when we go with that pretension, it means we will not, decisively face those things and keep them away.
All right, we'll have to hear the views of Ipinmisho here. In 60 seconds, can you tell us if indeed the lecturers should accept this offer by the Nigerian government and call off the strike this week willingly and with the hope that the government will keep to the agreement?
I think they should accept it, and because for the past 72 hours we're hearing downturn again in the economy, which means if this meeting were like another 3 days, they may not even get as much as they are getting now, and they will still have to understand that the country has to move forward. The only thing I would like to encourage governments is that they shouldn't see ASU, NASU, all of them as strangers in the affairs of this country. They are matured people who could also find themselves. The last Minister of Health used to be a very strong member of one of the unions. So they could also find themselves in ministerial positions in the future. So if you make necessary disclosure, need to know to them, I don't think they will want to destroy this country. There is the need to see them as partners rather than opposition. They are not opposition. We must work together in the interest of our country.
Have to go to other stories.
So I think ASU should please, whatever they are giving now,
all right,
without looking back, but insist
thanks
that
for
they
that.
must
We
be,
just have to go to other
yes,
stories at the moment. Yeah, the federal government has signed a memorandum of understanding, MOU, with Niger Republic on the transportation and storage of petroleum products. The Ministry of Petroleum Resources says the MOU was signed by the GMD of the NNPC, Mele Kyari, and the Director General of SONIDEP, Mr. Ali Otun, on Thursday under the supervision of the two countries' Ministers of State for Petroleum, Chief Temipre Silva and Mr. Fomakoye Gado, with the Secretary General of the African Petroleum Producers Organization, Dr. Omar Farouk Ibrahim, in attendance. Talks have been ongoing between both countries for months through the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and Niger Republic's national oil company, Société Nigérienne de Pétrole, or SONIDEP, on petroleum products transportation and storage. Niger's Sora's refinery in Zindar, located about 260 kilometers from the Nigerian border, has an installed refining capacity of 20,000 barrels per day. Niger's total domestic requirement is about 5,000 barrels per day, thus leaving a huge surplus of about 15,000 barrels per day, mostly for exports, which Nigeria is taking advantage of. Let's have your views on that. A lot of people have been criticizing the government for entering into this agreement, while others said that it's very good considering that the place where this refinery is located is close to the borders of northern Nigeria, and that considering that there's always fuel shortage supply in the northern part of the country, it would just be good to tap into that product transportation and supplies, and it makes life much easier instead of, adopting the issue of petroleum equalization fund and all of that. What are your thoughts on this?
Is that to me?
Yes, Mr. Ipinmisho, you can go ahead.
No, I'm not hearing you.
Okay. I'm saying that what are your thoughts on this deal that was signed between NNPC and SONIDEP, considering that the refinery is located close to the border of northern Nigeria, and since we have a lot of product shortage in that area, some have said that it could actually be helpful in curbing the issues of fuel scarcity in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, such a transaction or such a business involves a lot of ministries that must have done their studies. Foreign affairs must have been involved. What is the interest of Nigeria in going to push so much funds to Niger? Are we at risk? Number one. Number two, I am not in any doubt that it does not make sense for us to have our own refineries and refuse to manage it well and be going out to look for where to buy. But when the costs, now that we have no choice but to import, when the costs and the implications are put on the table, I'm sure the experts must have studied, and particularly I know the GMD that is there now is a patriot. They must have done their study and see that, and saw that that is the best way at the moment to source for fuel for Nigeria. And I'm sure that it won't be for too long. This is a problem of our poor studies of how to establish businesses for government. Now, if these refineries are the size of what they have in Niger, maybe we'll have been able to manage it. Next time we're doing this, we'll think of maintenance.
So that we'll have the views of the senator, because we're running out of time. Let's have your views on this. What do you think that will do, especially to fuel supply in northern part of the country, which you come from?
Well, first, it's going to be a huge saving for Nigeria. And the second one is that I'm sure that decision is strictly guided by what we refer to as cost-benefit analysis. And the way to understand that is that after importing petrol to Lagos, which normally comes by ship, you have to transport it from Lagos to, let's say, Sokoto. That's about 970 or to about 1,000 kilometers. So if you can transport the same product within 200 and something kilometers, it doesn't take anybody with rocket science to know that a huge saving has been made in respect of that one.
All right, so you just have to say that quickly, because I've been told
so as far as I'm concerned, it's strictly guided by cost-benefit analysis, and I think it's something that is very encouraging when it comes to overall interest of the nation.
So the country will be the beneficiary.
Exactly, the country will be the beneficiary in this game.
It's time for us to go. Well, I would like to thank my guest, distinguished Senator Bala Ibn Naala is the Chairman Senate Committee on Air Force, and then Otunba Lanre Ipinmisho is a former Director General of the NDLEA. He's also a legal expert, and he's based in Abuja here. That's it for this edition of This Week with me, Somna Sambo. Please keep it here on the Rise News. And from the entire team here in Abuja, Lagos, and London, goodbye and thank you for watching.